Chapter 18 is called Get Your Skates On. Out of the fire pit, Hiccup climbed. He had never climbed so fast before. Hiccup hauled him up. That's Hiccup, and the wound's fine. Put away. Kamikaze hauled him up the last bit. Fishlegs put out a small fire that had started on his back. They were white and shaking, petrified by that appalling noise. Even in the horror of the moment, Toothless noticed the brown dragon in his place in Hiccup's waistcoat. "Who's that in Toothless's place?" he hissed furiously. "Never mind that now, get your skates on," yelled Hiccup. "We need to get back up there before they start the sword fighting competition. Stormfly, lead the way." "But you've woken up all the cave dragons, you freak ignoramuses!" shrieked Flashburn, hopping from foot to foot in terrified fury, still whispering as if that would make any difference when there was the most horrific cacophony going on. "There's a reason why I only ever search these graves in the winter. Listen to that noise. We're going to be annihilated." The noise was truly ear-splitting, like 400 furies screaming all at once. He's got it, after 'em all. The wretched little human boy has got the crown. Rip-roarers, breath-quenchers, brain-pickers, all. Hunt him down, creatures of this darkness. Hunt him down, screamed the Red Rage in a ghastly echo that trembled down the tunnels and echoed back to itself. And the voice was answered by the most spine-chilling, blood-curdling howling of rip-roarers and breath-quenchers and Thor's knows what else, as every dragon in the entire cave tunnel warren appeared to be waking up. "We have no choice," said Hiccup grimly, "and we'll be all right. Something will turn up. Draw your swords, everybody." "Something will turn up!" shrieked the enraged Flashburn. "Something will turn up? What do you mean, something will turn up? Why are you listening to this bozo? Ow!" This was as he was practically yanked off his feet by Kamikaze, who had already set off and was pulling on his chain. They skated like fury through the tunnels, through the darkness. There was no sign of any dragons yet. They must have all been up on the other side of the electrified shield. "Have you got the crown?" panted Fishlegs. "Yep," said Hiccup, pointing to his waistcoat. "I don't believe it," gasped Flashburn. The only word for how he felt in that moment is a word in Dragonese, and the word is boggle smashed. 20 years of looking, 20 years, and the crown is found by a couple of weirdos and a limping pipsqueak. "This limping pipsqueak is skating faster than you are," yelled Kamikaze. "Keep up, why don't you?" Back they skated to the tunnel where the electric stickies. Oh, look, that's the rip-roarers. They are rather terrifying. Back they skated to the tunnel where the electric stickies still clung, glowing to Hiccup's Roman shield. Above the shield were the most horrific noises of howling and scuffling and talons being sharpened. "Push up the shield with your sword, Kamikaze," said Hiccup. "What in Thor's name are you doing?" panted Fishlegs. "They're that Flashburn. They're up there, all up there." "Do it, Kamikaze," said Hiccup. And then Hiccup gave a shriek of his own at the top of his voice in Dragonese. "Ag! We're being attacked by brain pickers." There was a sudden, uneasy silence from above the shield. Kamikaze poked the shield with her sword, and it lifted up as easily as a trapdoor. A rip-roarer thrust its revolting head tentatively through the opening, weird taloned whiskers quivering. Hiccup pointed at Fishlegs standing there with Horikawa attached to his head. "Ag!" shrieked Hiccup. "Brain pickers! Ag!" shrieked the rip-roarer, abruptly disappearing. "Brain pickers! Brain pickers! Brain pickers!" Oh, yeah, they thought that Horikawa was a brain picker, but she's not. The tunnel above erupted with the sound of panicking dragons screaming and running away. Everything you see is frightened of something. And brain pickers are one of the most feared dragons in the archipelago, because nobody likes the idea of their brains being sucked out between their ears. No, I wouldn't like that idea. A couple more dragons poked their heads through, took one last look at Fishlegs, shrieked and disappeared again. Fishlegs twigged what was going on, climbed up and thrust his entire head with Horikawa attached through the trapdoor. There was a final stampede in the tunnel above, dragons screaming, trampling over each other, forked tails disappearing into the darkness, and then silence. "They've gone," Fishlegs announced. "They've gone?" gasped a flabbergasted Flashburn. "What do you mean they've gone?" Hiccup climbed up after Fishlegs, and Kamikaze tore the electric stickies from the shield with her gloved hands and handed the shield wordlessly to Hiccup before scrambling up herself and giving Flashburn a couple of strong yanks on the chain. "Are you coming, Flashy boy, or are you just going to stand there with your mouth open?" demanded Kamikaze. "We've got to be quick before these dragons realise it's a trick." They had to help him up because his arms were still tied. Through the tunnels those young Vikings fled. There were no sign of any dragons, and the Dragon Furious' rage seemed to have quietened now that they were higher up the tunnel warren. They rounded the final corner. There was the cauldron lying on one side. "What are you going to do about the witch?" panted Fishlegs as they came to a screeching halt beside it. "I'll think of something," said Hiccup, and he and Fishlegs and Kamikaze all got into the cauldron. "You mean," shrieked Fleashback, "the witch is not up there?" "That's right," said Hiccup. "All we have to do is defeat the witch, and then we're home free. Get in." But Flashburn refused. He has spent the last 3 weeks in the darkness eating little cave dragons raw, which is depressing for starters. Then he resigned himself to death at the ghastly maw of a sticky worm, which would have been a yucky way to go, but at least there would have been a kind of glory to it. A hero dying in the course of his quest and all that sort of thing. But then these little weirdos had turned up. For Flashburn's entire life, he had been the one making the clever remarks, showing off, leading from the front. Now here he was, sticky all over, wrapped in chains, looking perfectly ridiculous. You could sort of see Flashburn's point. Fishlegs never failed at anything before. Sure, the quest for the crown had been frustrating, but he had consoled himself with the thought that it was impossible. And again, there was a kind of glory in endlessly pursuing an impossible quest. But now, in less than 2 hours, the little weirdos had found the fire pit he'd been sinking for 20 years, taken the crown, defeated the terrifying cave dragons he and his warriors had been avoiding all this time, and now they were proposing to face that horrible witch in her horrible fingernails. Even the truly odd-looking little one with the dragon on his head seemed to be some kind of superhero with the power to terrify dragons just by looking at them. Flashburn's ego had fallen. The hero had lost his mojo, and when an ego the size of Flashburn's starts falling, it is a long way to go. He lay down on the cave floor beside the cauldron. "No," said Flashburn, "I won't get in." "Oh, come on," cajoled Kamikaze. "Remember what you said at the cliff. Are you the stuff that heroes are made of, or are you a jellyfish in a skirt?" "I'm a jellyfish," said Flashburn. Sort of felt a bit sorry for him. I don't know why. We'll have the best bit. I expect tomorrow. I can't face that witch. You leave me here and go on up